But what I've realized is that if I'm gonna make a video, a YouTube video, that I should train, stretch, or go for a walk before it. That puts me in a elevated state of mind. And it almost unlocks the video that I should do. Because sometimes I think, how can I possibly just make a new video every single time? There must be an end at some point. But then I thought, well, if you're always evolving, there's always new information that you can be putting out into the world, or YouTube, and then people can watch it. So, something that I've been thinking about. But one video that I've been thinking about doing, but what's been stopping me is I've seen a bunch of these videos already, but then I thought everybody has their own take of that topic. So the topic I want to talk about is losing body fat. The two biggest mistakes that I see. So the first mistake that I see, or that I've noticed that most people make, is they diet too hard. And I understand why they do this, but at the same time, I know it's not the right way to go about it. So, why does someone cut their calories really hard? Let's think about that first. Because they're trying to just go straight to the deep end, screw the shallow end. I'm just gonna diet hard as fast as I can, get to my goal weight, if they even have one. Maybe it's a look. Get there as fast as I can, because I know I'm not gonna be able to do this for a while. But if you want to maintain, or at least most of your muscle mass, or as much as you can, nobody really knows how much muscle mass you're keeping. All of this growing as you're getting leaner, it's pretty much all bullshit unless you're on steroids. And even then, if you're on steroids, as you're going up in body weight, and then the only variable that you're changing is reducing food, how are you going to put on muscle mass? You've put on as much as you're going to put on, and then as you start to diet, it's just getting rid of the body fat. But so the first reason, dieting too hard. When I say too hard, I mean if you're 15-20% body fat, somewhere around there at your heaviest, then I would say 1 pound per week is probably the max that you want to do. Anything more, 2 pounds a week, you're going to be really hungry. You're not going to sleep well because you're hungry. And what comes with those two things? Poor performance. And then what happens when you have poor performance? Which means you're getting weaker, you lose muscle, or more than you should, or more than you want to. If you don't care about maintaining your muscle mass, then yeah, just fucking starve. But I think most of us want a hard looking physique at the end. You know, we want to clearly see that we kept most of our muscle mass because we've kept most of our strength. There's another reason. So there's a couple of reasons. There's more than two. But I'm going to go into the one that I'm thinking of right now. Is that people switch up their training style. Why do they switch up their training style? Because they end up being weaker for a workout, maybe 2 workouts, and then they say, okay, screw this exercise, or screw the lower repetitions that I've been doing as I've been building muscle mass. I'm going to switch up the exercise from squats or hack squat, and I'm going to go do just leg extension, or I'm going to go do some type of leg press, a horizontal leg press, pin loaded, which you could still keep all your muscle mass, but it just doesn't seem to be as intense because your mindset is thrown off. So you're switching the exercise, but you're also a little bit defeated already in the mind. So maybe you don't push to that very last point that you normally would when you're in a surplus or when you're at a heavier body weight. So the first reason was dieting too hard. And then the second reason was switching up exercises or switching it to higher repetitions. There's many more reasons, or many other mistakes that I've seen, but I think those two, dieting too hard, and then for the second one would be high repetitions, switching up exercises, not pushing to true failure like you were before. There's one more mistake that I want to talk about, and that's before the dieting phase. And that's when people bulk or stay in a calorie surplus for too long or too much of a surplus, which really just means they got too fat, they got too heavy. And that can cause problems because you now have all this body fat that you've accumulated. So clearly you didn't put on muscle mass. This is something that I've just recently discovered, which is interesting. But if you're putting on body fat and you visualize it, you see it happening, you're not putting on muscle mass. It's pretty simple, you know? But you have this feeling of being big in your shirt, but your obliques look like shit. Your definition is going away in your back, everywhere really, besides your arms, calves. Those are the two main points that don't really get that much body fat. But all just goes to your lower back, upper back, obliques, abdominals, chest, a little bit, you know. But they get too heavy. So instead of dieting for maybe 3 or 4 months, now it's 6 months or 8 months. I'm just throwing out these general time frames that people diet for. So what tends to happen is they will increase the deficit, right? So the same rate at which they increase the surplus, they've increased the deficit now because they're too fat and they want to just get rid of it. And then you can lose strength, which leads to a decrease in muscle mass. But there's other things that happen too. If you're a big leg presser, even if you kept all your muscle mass, let's say, but your stomach shrank a lot, you're gonna get weaker. So there's some exercises that you'll get weaker on more than others, but it's not the same rate at which you lost muscle. So the leg press is the best example because your stomach is basically a trampoline for your quads. Even if it doesn't look like it, at some point even lower abdominals and your upper hip, they're smushing together a little bit. Depends how heavy you got, how fat you got. But if you ever notice, really heavy people, they can leg press a good amount. That's the reason. So those are a couple of reasons. I think that'll help some people out there.